Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen Existentialists. Welcome into the Gen Existentialists. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we're here with you for about the next 20 minutes talking about all manner of strange, wild, and wonderful things from a Gen X perspective. We will spin Mega Wheel the Magnificent, and the rest of the show is extemporaneous. Whatever topics come up, that's what we talk about. How you doing, Bunny?
I'm doing really well. You know, Mega Wheel has just gotten even more mega. She's had more questions added recently.
That's a wonder. Are they things that you came up with, or people have sent in?
There are things that people have sent in and suggested. So
that is fantastic. So if people do want to send stuff in to us, how do they do so?
Well, the first way you can do it, and probably the easiest way, is to contact us directly on the Mixcloud page where you found this or any of the other shows on our Morning Pizza Radio Collective. Or you can drop me a line at morningpizzaradio@proton.me. That's proton.me. And let me know what's on your mind.
And should we go ahead and get to it and give her a spin?
Oh, tickler.
I am not going to tickle the wheel. Partially because the wheel is on my phone. And tickling my phone just doesn't sound like any kind of fun. So Mega Wheel the Magnificent is spinning. And see, doggone it, it's my fault. Because I don't always hit the remove button when when a topic comes up. What is your spirit animal?
Oh, we've already been through this.
Yeah, we spent like an
Seahorse.
entire episode on that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, seahorse, and I had, what did I say? I don't even remember.
You said a cat.
Well, yeah, that makes sense, cat. So we are spinning again, Mega Wheel of Magnificent. Okay. Good one. Biggest childhood or teen crushes?
Oh, biggest childhood or teen crushes. Well, as a child, one of my biggest crushes was Aaron Gray from Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. That spandex space outfit.
Absolutely.
It amused me as a young man. I didn't quite know what to do with that.
Yeah.
But it certainly stuck in my mind. And, of course, I was also a Princess Ardala fan, which was from Buck Rogers, of course. She was the bad girl.
Cool.
So I kind of got a little from both sides. Now, teenage, I had many crushes as a teenager. I would say as a preteen, it was probably Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, a.k.a. Cassandra Peterson.
Really?
Yeah, as a preteen, of course. You remember the fateful day in, what was that, Project Ascent?
Oh. Yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Wow, teenage crushes. So many. I would have to go with Susie Sue of Susie and the Banshees was probably one of my largest. So, how about you, sir?
Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher.
Sure.
You know, and even prior to the slave outfit in Return of the Jedi, even prior to that, and I think that kind of childhood crush really had an impact on like how I view women. You know, I never really saw a gender difference like for leadership or what people can do or anybody's abilities, and I think it's because of having seen that. From there, like getting a little bit older, I've always been a big Alyssa Milano fan. Like she has never not looked amazing.
All right.
And probably Tiffany Thiessen, Saved by the Bell.
Oh, okay, that's who that is.
Yeah.
All right. That name did not ring in my head for some reason.
But
now she was the one that was into Mark Paul Gosselaar.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a name I remember for some strange reason.
But and here's another thing, goes back to something we were talking about just prior to the show.
Mm-hmm.
Big Price is Right fan.
Holly,
yeah, mainly, but you know, any one of Barker's beauties.
Well, sure,
yeah, that was absolutely the fantasy fodder.
Yeah,
right there for TV and stuff.
Now, game shows always had a host of lovely ladies on them.
Mm-hmm.
that were in there. Any other game show ladies that you were a fan of?
Not that I can remember. All the others were drowned out by the shining lights on Price is Right.
See, I was a huge fan of Lacey Pemberton of Card Sharks fame.
I am not familiar with.
She's the dark-haired one from Card Sharks. There was also a woman who was on Sale of the Century that pretty much was kind of the announcer, de facto announcer, but she also appeared on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, all she was known for was winning a beauty contest back in the day and being a model.
Well, at that point, that's all you need to go on TV.
But she could spit out copy like nobody's business, like a pro announcer. She had it all. She was the real deal.
Cool. All right. I think we've beaten that.
Yeah. So to speak.
So to speak.
Oh,
we will give Mega Wheel the Magnificent another spin. And here we go. With this many topics on the wheel, it does take a while for it to wind down.
That momentum.
I think this is one we've done before, too. What is your Achilles heel? Or your weak spot?
Yeah, we never reveal our Achilles heel to the public.
Too many enemies out there on the interwebs.
We soon will be after listening to a few more of these shows.
So we are spinning again. Multi-spins. I thought you took this one out.
Man.
Why is it called lipstick if it doesn't stick your lips together?
I took that out. I wonder if it's not refreshing on your end, because I also added a hilarious face to Mega Wheel the Magnificent, and it's not appearing on Scott's end.
I've cleared my cache, as it were, and brought it back up, and it's not on there.
Man, what do you expect for a free website?
Well, yeah. and for the sake of it, I'm probably not going to put all the wheel spins in as sound effects. It's just going to be like one big long wheel spin going underneath this entire thing. When you were a kid, how did you answer the question, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I wanted to be a werewolf when I was a child.
That doesn't surprise me a bit.
Yeah,
really.
I still wouldn't mind being a werewolf. But, I either wanted to be a werewolf or a pirate.
A pirate?
A pirate.
Why?
Yar har fiddle-dee-dee.
I mean, the werewolf makes sense from a lot of perspectives, but the pirate just kind of...
The pirate seemed like the next best thing to being in an outlaw biker gang, which was also sort of on my short list.
So you wanted to be a dreadnought on the sea?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to just kind of have that freewheeling nomadic lifestyle. Didn't have to shave, didn't have to take a bath, loot and pillage, as one is off to do. I don't know. It just seemed very romantic to me as a child. A little more romantic than being a werewolf. But
yeah, probably.
Yeah, how about you? What did you want to be?
For years and years, my just base answer for this was I wanted to be a police officer. Mm-hmm. And that was because of my grandfather, because he was a police officer in Bellevue.
Seems like a more logical career choice than werewolf.
Yeah. It all depends. But the thing was, I remember as a kid, because, it was one of those questions that people always ask little kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would always say a police officer, because it was kind of one of those things that people would leave you alone after you said it. Like, oh, this kid's got an idea and he gave me an answer, yay. But I remember whenever I would say that, the thought in the back of my mind would be, I'm like 8 years old. Why are you asking me? I don't understand this. Who cares?
You know what they did to me after I told them that I wanted to be a werewolf?
They bought you swords and a
no. I was
Warren
sent
Zevon
to, I was sent to
albums?
counseling in elementary school.
Were you really?
I was. I had Dr. McIntosh was his name.
Okay, we've been friends for decades. I had
no
idea.
This happened before you showed up on the scene.
Well, but I would have thought it would have been like a topic at some point.
They decided to send me to counseling because I reported that in my first grade. What do you want to be when you grow up? Little project.
Yeah.
And they caught me reading Stephen King's Night Shift. Okay. So, and that, of course, was obviously a red flag back in the 80s, especially, or the 70s, as it were, late 70s, early 80s. And they sent me to a gentleman named Dr. McIntosh out on Turkey Foot Road. There was some little psychiatry place. And the guy brought me in and he said, I want you to he gave me a pad of paper and crayons, and he said, I want you to just draw me some pictures, and we'll just talk. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And we're talking, and I'm telling him all about Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm telling him all about, monster movies, and I'm drawing.
Not helping your cause.
No, and he left, and he was like, Mr. and Mrs. Easton, your child is perfectly sane. It's like, there's nothing wrong with this kid. And he wrote it and sent it back. He's like, I don't know why they keep sending me these things, because kids are just going to be kids. He was the most reasonable psychiatrist I've ever met in my life.
Was his office, did it have wood paneling and stuff?
It had brick.
Oh,
it was like exposed brick on the inside. It was very NKU-ish.
I like that better.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there you go. There's a little bit of background.
Yeah.
On life at the elementary school before you showed up.
I dig the werewolf thing, though, because of this. Typically, kids will answer something more logical, like I did, like a police officer.
Sure.
So the creativity that it took to jump outside the normal realm of things.
Yeah, the question is always like, why do you want to be a werewolf instead of a vampire? Because every kid wants to be Dracula or something that wants to be a monster.
Well, werewolves are actually classier.
Werewolves are actually more rageful. And even as a child, I knew that was a direction that I wanted to put my energy toward. I'm not into this whole classy, sparkly, wear a nice outfit and seduce ladies.
See, when I picture,
I want to run on all fours in the woods. Look at me go.
I picture the werewolves in Warren Zevon songs.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Still rip your throat out, but, perfect hair, get through things.
There's more American Werewolf in London for me. But.
Yeah, okay. We will give Mega Wheel of Magnificent another spin. We're getting topics that are being redone and short answer topics.
That's fine. It's a medley, a buffet, if you will.
How perfect is this? Do you like diving into the deep end or easing your way into the water, literally or figuratively? In parentheses.
Figuratively, I'd rather ease my way in, I guess. I mean, I guess I got that wrong, actually. I'm more of if it's a topic or a situation or a career choice or whatever, I'll dive in the deep end because I prefer a trial by fire. If it's an actual pool, I'd prefer to slink in like a little old man, kind of like, use the handrail, watch your step.
Be careful.
Yeah, don't break your butt, on the slippery rocks or whatever. Yeah, I'm more cautious in a pool than I am in the gauntlet of life.
But I think a lot of it depends literally on what you're talking about. This is a very broad question.
Yeah.
If it's something that you've got experience with, you dive in. But it depends. I am much more now of the mind to just dive into the deep end.
Sure.
Especially if it's something that I've got a little bit of experience with, playing music, writing. Like if you said, hey, Scott, we're going to a poetry reading. Cool, let's go. I haven't done a live poetry reading in 15 years, but it's something I know how to do. I'm cool with it. Other things, kind of take my time, do the research first. And a lot of it has to do with this. If we're talking about like hobbies or trips or anything like that, you have to do research because everything costs so damn much these days that it's hard to dive into the deep end. You almost have to take your time and kind of slink through things to figure out, is it worth going any further? Is it worth actually pursuing this?
See, it's a good thing when we were growing up, we didn't want to be Gatsbys.
Yeah.
Because everything costs so much nowadays.
Yeah, it really does. I think about like my first big bass amp, the first amp that I got that I could go out and like do a live show with. Total head, cabinet, everything was about $500. I had to take out a loan for it because I barely had a job at the time. I was in high school. So that was like how I got started getting credit, was buying that amp. Today, if I bought that same kind of setup, couple grand at least, and you can't do it.
Thanks, Obama.
Oh, jeez. It's just a little bit of everything. So I think that the answer to that question is very much dependent on what we're talking about.
I'm guessing a real pool is a slink in situation.
No, you dive right into that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, figure out where it's going.
Okay.
let's do it.
Okay.
Should we give it another spin? Let me
do
take a
one
look at
more.
where we're at time-wise.
Maybe we'll get another shorty.
Time for one more. Let's see what we got here on Mega Wheel of Magnificent. See, the tough thing for me is going back and listening through and making sure I catch all the wheel spins and get the sound effects in there at the right spot.
We're talking about like smorgasbords and diving in and all the diving boards. And,
take me to a smorgasbord. I'm diving in.
Yeah. Are you one that would actually eat out of the chocolate fountain that is available?
No.
How are you about diving in on that side?
No. Even buffets. I used to be a buffet aficionado, as you could tell by my waistline. But years ago, Tracy and I had a strange incident at the Happy Dragon in Lexington.
Sounds like a new Stephen King story. Speaking of that, a strange incident at the buffet.
A strange incident at the Happy Dragon.
All right.
We're eating, and I have my back to the buffet. All right. She's across from me, and she's about to take a bite, and she sees something occur at the buffet, and the look on her face was equal parts amusement and sheer unfathomable disgust, which is weird because, you see your wife make that kind of look. It's like, what the hell just happened behind me? She put her fork down and said, the one woman in the pajama pants just took a shrimp off the bar, took a bite, and put it back. Which, you think about it, it's just foul.
Yeah, but she is wearing pajamas to a buffet.
So. Here's the thing. If you went to the Happy Dragon, roughly 5 to 8% of the patrons would be there in pajama pants and flip-flops, just coming from Walmart.
That's a huge red flag for me. I don't want to eat anywhere where people are still wearing their bedding clothes.
Well, but here's the thing. The food was good.
Okay.
I don't know what the woman tasted when she bit the end of the shrimp off and ate it that made her put the rest of it back.
Mud vein. My God.
It could have been.
Okay.
Could have. From the looks of her, I wouldn't have thought that would bother her though. I would have thought that would have been like, extra spicy.
Tastes like home.
It tastes and smells just like home.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of made us both go, maybe buffets ain't for us. We need to take some time off. That was, and literally most people I know have a buffet story. Not necessarily like seeing that.
I'll have to tell you the Morrison's Cafe.
Do it.
A buffet story. Do we have time for this? Is this something that we can squeeze in?
Yeah, squeeze it in. Do it.
All right. My father, God rest his soul, was a buffet and smorgasbord aficionado.
Yes.
I really have not been back to a buffet since he's passed. We used to go to all different types, Duff's. We went to Mall Bentley's. We went to.
I'm feeling like we need to make a field trip to Golden Corral or something.
God, no. That was the last one that he always dragged me to, and it was like a John Waters film on acid with a buffet attached to it. Morrison's Cafe. My father, nothing fazed the man when a buffet was in order, and we used to go to the one at Florence Mall.
Yeah.
And I always dreaded it. It was one of those things my parents would take me to the mall every weekend. It seemed like we'd all go and have a little family night out.
Yeah.
And I was always hoping for Bonanza or, in special cases of big events, Red Lobster, something nice. We'd always end up at Morrison's, it seemed like, because it's just out of convenience.
Yeah.
And there was a guy there that served roast beef that had...
Yes.
He had a hook hand. He had like a clickety clackety little clippy hook, and he used to serve the roast beef. So I'd get the roast beef just so he'd pick it up with his weird little arm. And that was my clickety clackety roast beef. I was super excited about that. So as a child, I'm sitting at the table with my roast beef, beaming that a one-armed man served me roast beef. And
that's wonderful.
And an old person stands up behind my father, or actually is behind me, my apologies, and starts making horrible noises. And I turned to look, and of course my parents were like, "Don't look at it. Stop staring." And the man's choking, and someone runs up and does the Heimlich maneuver on him, to which he vomits out a bunch of popcorn shrimp all over the carpet. And then the ambulance is called. And the entire time my father does not break a stride.
Yes!
Just shoveling it in. Just like,
Bob for the win.
Yeah, so that was the startling incident, the tragic incident at Morrison's Cafe. And they took him away in an ambulance, and that was...
See, I'm surprised you didn't turn around and go, "Sir, would you please quiet down? We're trying to eat."
"This is unnecessary. In front of my clickety clackety roast beef? Have you no decency, sir?" No, it's
Ask for your money back because your meal was disturbed.
You know, it could have been justified. Because a man threw up literally like 2 feet from my feet.
If that happened today, yes, everybody would have
been comped. But the thing is, that man is long since paced in a box. Wow. But this is how I'll remember him. This is the memory he left behind, is the guy who threw up
and
popcorn shrimp at Morrison. That sucks. That poor guy. He probably had a wonderful life. He
but what if his life was one incident like that, just successive choking incidents, going to the hospital?
That would have been fortunate. He should probably get a tracheotomy or something.
Or maybe that was the one time. That was the one thing that went badly for him in his life. And that's the one thing that you remember.
See, and that's a shame. I hope if and when
but you didn't even know him.
I hope when and if I get to heaven, I go to Morrison's Cafe in the sky, I could see him and say, "Dude, that was crazy."
Or you end up in hell, and he's right behind your table at every meal, throwing up.
Why would I be sentenced to a life of torment or an eternity of torment because I made a one-armed man serve me roast beef?
That man is an angel in heaven.
That arm is in the Restaurant Hall of Fame somewhere, because he's probably bones too. But his arm will remain. It will go on, like that song from the Titanic.
Gilded in a case.
Exactly. It's like a poppy. It's like a little brass poppy or something.
And on that note, this has been another episode of the Gen Existentialists. We hope you enjoyed everything. My name is Scott.
I'm Bunny.
And we'll catch you next time. Have a good one.